Dance and kavod, cleanse all that thou wilt. Cruelty, woe, and those who plague the tower, cleanse away the strumpet's vile progeny.
Does this look like the face of mercy? Hello, my fellow tarnished. Oh yes, this is something special and I am so excited to bring it to you. Way back in the day, I did a fire-frost hybrid build using the Sorcery Zamor Ice Storm. It was phenomenal, but the DLC has now let me upgrade it to no end. And we will be swapping to the weapon, and using Zamor Ice Storm instead of Zamor Ice Storm. This is gonna get confusing, isn't it? I don't need to prove to you how powerful this setup is, because you're seeing it dismantle everything I use it against actively in the background. But to really stress anyway, because why not? It's ridiculously powerful. See, Zamor Ice Storm, either of them, does ludicrous frost build-up. The weapon skill that we're using, over 600 per press. That is at minimum a frostbite per use, and on a lot of enemies too. And while it's usually not the best idea to go for the resetting frostbite with fire to reapply it, as you kind of just end up with a worse bleed build, there are exceptions, this being one of them. And the reason it is an exception is because of that insane level of frostbite. If I can confidently say, every time I press this Ash of War, and that's what I'm doing to kill things, I can trigger frostbite, then essentially what I'm saying is every time I press this Ash of War, I can do 7% of the boss's health for free with the frostbite proc, which is way more damage than the boss just taking 20% more damage from the Ash from just consistently keeping frostbite. The maths just supports it. The skill will do about 7,000 damage. Increased by the 20% frostbite debuff, that's 8,400. A boss can have up to 50,000 health in the DLC. 7% of that is, well, 3,500 damage. So I can either have every press of this Ash of War do 10.5k on average, or I can have every press of it do 8.4k on average. Simple when you put it like that, right? And the actual frostbite applying does a lot of interrupting animations and staggers, and does a lot of good for you in that sense when it comes to breathing room against a lot of bosses. And we are very elegantly resetting the frost passively with Fire's Deadly Sin as our body buff, just AoE aura fire damage, so we don't lose any DPS time on spamming the Ash. It just happens naturally, and that frost will build and build and build and build. It really is quite special. Now, last time I did this, I did use the Sorcery, primarily because it does do more damage. The thing is, when it comes to DLC bosses, they're very fast, right? And even if you combine it with an Endure dagger setup, the Sorcery just really is much harder to pull off in any kind of consistent way. You can see it here. The time it takes the Sorcery to cast 2, you have been able to do 3 with the Ash of War, which is way more DPS, even if each individual storm does slightly less damage. And even then, it's only like 10% less damage. So this way we get to actually have a solid weapon too for slashing things that need it, and we still get to apply this ridiculous burn frost cycle. And then lastly, because of what's been added in Shadow the Erdtree, the whole thing is just so much more potent. A new talisman to increase the damage. This lovely Divine Lion Helmet to again increase the damage. And a few other bits and bobs too. So all in all, if you want to be a flaming frost storm lion god just churning through enemies' health in a hail of pain, this is the one for you. It is so satisfying, and I cannot recommend it enough. From flavor to power, yeah, I am proud of this one. So without further ado, this is how we set up. Stats then to whip up this storm at 150. 60 vigor, 20 mind I find is quite a nice point to be at, though you could get away with a little bit less. Enough endurance to be medium rolling in a heavy-ish setup that this is. The strength to wield the weapon one-handed. You want intelligence exactly at 20 for Terra Magica, faith at 25 for the usual buffs, and then you want to pour everything else into dexterity to scale the weapon. The weapon scaling itself isn't huge into the ash, it's more for when you're actually, using it to slash. Now, the helmet that we'll be using does add 4 strength and 4 dex, so you can either have them as extra stats or use them to make the requirements and then put the points elsewhere if you prefer. The actual equipment items, weapons, and so on then, we want the Zamor curved sword, the star of the show, a 0-weight seal, just for your various incantation buffs, and indeed the other star in Fire's Deadly Sin, a low-weight glintstone staff to put down your Terra Magica, and then armor-wise, yes, Rakshasa in the chest, gloves, and legs is your min-max for damage, but feel free to fashion it up alongside the oh-so-fashionable Divine Beast Head then. An extra 5% bump to the damage at the cost of, less flask healing and a little bit of focus down. It also does give you, as I said, the dex and the strength. Like, it's fine, right? If you know what you're doing, it's not that much of a price to pay, but you can indeed, instead of this, use the little version that, say, 4% increase instead of 5, with less of a downside that drops from the various Divine Storm Warriors in the final Legacy dungeon. In any case, talisman-wise, I like the Dragon Crest just to build up our tankiness, as there isn't a strictly best fourth option. Then we want Alexander for the Ash. We want the Magic Scorpion as it's pure magic damage, so a 12% boost is nice, and also Dragon Crest eliminates the negative side of this. And then the new Enraged Divine Beast, which does work, of course, on the Zamor Ice Storm, otherwise this whole thing would be kind of awkward. In your Wondrous Physic then, you want either Opaline if you're running normally, Bloodsucking if you're feeling confident, and then either way, Magic Shrouding for an extra 20% on the Ice Storm. Then lastly, as an alternate to Dragon Crest, you could whack on something like Two-Handed to improve your actual slashes with the weapon if you prefer, and then Carrion Filigreed so you can get away with more casts of it on the same FP bar, which can also be quite helpful. When it comes to how to play it then, the buff cycle is as follows. You want to drink your Wondrous Flask first, then you want to do Golden Vow and Bestial Vitality as the longer lasting buffs, then you want Fire's Deadly Sin fully amped up, and the Bestial Vitality will help counteract the health loss from it. Then give yourself an FP top up, switch to Terra Magica in your staff, walk through the fog wall, put down your Terra Magica, and now we're good to go, and then simply use your Ice Storms in all of the opportunities the boss gives you. There is a decent amount of poise when actually using it, not infinite like in Jaw, so you still have to pick your moment, but definitely it's much easier to get off than the Sorcery, both speed and poise wise. Other than that, feel free to slash it up. You do have quite a nice little spinny moveset with this. It's not insane, but it is pretty good. The backstep slash is also particularly nice, and then you are good to go. I also love, by the way, when you two-handed it, you just nicely hold onto your own arm with your lion mask mouth. It's just, what a look, right? What a whole look is this? The things we do for a few % more damage. Finally then, when it comes to acquiring all of the new stuff to power this, well, it's not actually that much, and it's all quite comfortably from the same place, which is quite convenient. I will assume you have all of the base game stuff, as you know, it's been 2 years, so really all we are dealing with is the Divine Beast Head, and indeed the Enraged Divine Beast Talisman. Both of which come from the Divine Beast Dancing Lion, a Remembrance boss. The Divine Beast Head will just be on the floor of the arena for you to pick up once you have defeated him, and then the Enraged Divine Beast Talisman is the trade-in for his remembrance. And that then is that, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed this build. I think it certainly is a fun, different style of play, having the flowy Zamor curved sword for your melee options, and then this lovely Fire Frost resetting super quickly storm setup, boosted by everything new in Shadow of the Erdtree. It really does feel fun, and it is evidently, undoubtedly, ridiculously powerful. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below so we can keep making builds and all of the good stuff that you like. And yeah, that is about that. Look out for the next builds that are coming. There are some particularly fun combos coming up. But until then, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.